Meeting order and take attendance. Frankie?
I'm here.
And Bob?
Here.
And Rita? Oh, there's Steve. Steve, I'm just taking attendance. Just have to turn your microphone on. There you go.
There are a lot of us here.
Okay.
That's good.
And I'm here. And let's just go right into it. And let's see, we need to approve the agenda. Anybody like to approve the agenda?
I so moved.
Okay. And the last board minutes from the last meeting. Any changes? Approval?
Move approval. Second.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. And looks like we're going to start with our special events day. Is that,
Better take a vote on that motion, Rita, for minutes approval.
oh, okay. Oh, you're right. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on that for minutes approval for the last meeting. Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Frankie?
Yes.
And I am an aye. Okay. And the special event applications, I'm assuming that's where we're starting. We have a guest with us.
That's right.
Just a moment.
That's right, Rita.
If there's a lot of background noise, if everyone could mute themselves when they're not talking.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, good reminder, Patrick. Thank you. So we do have a couple of musical busking requests. So, special event application, not so much a special event as we determined last month, where these individual musicians that are interested in busking in Harbor Park, we're giving them our special event application as our standard form for requesting use of space. And yet we've determined that individual busking is not a public event that would be worthy of a COVID preparedness plan. And so these musicians have simply done the 2-page special event application. Those were included with your packet last week. We've got Tom Knutson on the line, and Pete Kavanaugh is the other musician. I don't see him in the meeting tonight, but we can certainly proceed and maybe find out a little bit about Tom. Tell us about yourself.
I would be happy to. Kim and I moved up here in 2012 and worked at the Shoreline for a while. I've also worked at the co-op and a couple of stints at the library, which is where I am right now. And also a couple of the internet service providers in town. I have been doing open mic nights, and I've been in a couple of local bands, including one with Rena Rogers, county IT administrator. And I put in my application because I would love to go down to the park with my $80 Rode guitar and play music for people. I don't play very loud because I think a lot of people come to listen to the waves hitting the cobblestones around the edge of Harbor Park. So I try to keep a pretty small bubble of sound in my area, and people react to it pretty well, I think. I played last year under Joe Pollock's umbrella permit. And I also have a couple of other venues that I'll be playing at this summer. I'm playing at the Saturday market over by the senior center from time to time, and also at Todd and Pat Smith's lunch box food truck, which is right on Wisconsin. So that's pretty much my story.
Yeah, and just like we explained last month, so the first step is to get permission from the park board to use the space, to use Harbor Park. Once that permission is granted, these musicians will have to work through City Hall on securing the peddler's permit to actually solicit for tips.
And did we determine are the musicians going to discuss amongst each other times or anything? Has that been brought up with different people?
Yeah, Rita. So Pete Kavanaugh, who's also got an application in tonight, had volunteered the notion of a shared document, some sort of a sign-up genius type of scheduling wizard that the musicians can, work through an online schedule that would be available to basically sign up, crowdsource sort of sign up in here. I think between Tom and certainly his technical whiz and Pete K as well is pretty good on the machine. So, but as I was preparing these applications, I was talking amongst the musicians, just that very concept. PK put his hand up and said, I'll manage a schedule if needed. But the feeling is pretty mutual that they'll be able to work it out amongst themselves.
Perfect. Good.
I have one question about the insurance requirement that's agreed to in each of these applications. Does anybody know what it costs for a busker to get insurance that makes the city of Grand Marais an additional insured of a minimum of $500,000?
Steve, that's one of those to be determined by the park board, city council, if insurance is needed, right? If we look at the fine print on that, there's a preliminary review of the event or of the request. And if it's very small scale, like these individual musicians, the read is they're not required to provide that sort of event insurance. That sort of, the second part of the back of the document is designed for the larger events that are generally
I'm okay with that, but if I'm Tom or any of the other buskers, I would want it in writing in case anything ever happened, that they were released from their obligation to provide insurance, that they've taken.
The first paragraph does say that, though. It says that Tom Knutson hereby fully releases and discharges the city of Grand Marais, its officers, agents, and employees from any and all claims.
That's different from the kind of policy that we're asking them for.
I see what you're saying.
I understand that we're asking for a policy that would protect liability, injury to others or their property. I see minimal risk of either in the busking, but on the other hand, I would hate to be the busker who happens to have signed this thing that says I'm going to provide this insurance unless somebody says, look, you really don't have to, and it does it in a written form, so you're not hanging out there someday when somebody's looking to sue somebody.
I can follow up with that, Steve. I think the point on the back was, once preliminary review and approval is granted for the event, final approval may require. That's the sort of the contingency there. And certainly these small time or this individual busking doesn't require this insurance, but we can put that in writing if you feel better about that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
All right. Is there any other further questions for Tom? And before we take a moment,
I have to ask a dumb question. I muted this. What is busking?
Busking is playing music in public for tips.
Okay, thank you.
Could it also include singing in public for tips?
Yes.
all right.
And miming, right? Isn't that what we really think of?
There you go. Okay, if there's not any further questions, we want to go ahead and does anyone have a motion to go ahead and pass the one permit with Tom's name, Tom Knutson? There's also the one for Pete.
I move approval of the request of Mr. Knutson.
Second.
Okay, and then how about for Pete Kavanaugh? He's not here.
I move approval.
Sure, but can do them both together if you want.
Yes.
I just didn't know if he was going to talk to us or not.
No, he's not available. So I'm just throwing it in there as one motion to pass both of them. And it looks like we've had a first and a second.
So I'll just back up one step to clarify. Then we want to take a fresh motion where we approve them both.
Oh,
Steve?
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was viewing it as a request for a friendly amendment by Mr. Nesham. So now we have moved to approve them both.
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Frankie. Sounds good. Okay, thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you, everybody. I will see you in the park this summer.
Sounds wonderful. Have a good
Yeah,
evening.
thanks, Tom. I'll let City Hall know you're approved and you can proceed with the peddler's permit application.
Great, I
I
appreciate
think
that.
we need to vote again.
We haven't voted.
Okay, let's go ahead. I'm sorry about that. Bob,
Yes.
Frankie?
Yes.
Yes. Steve?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, now it's, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
You too, thanks. All right. So the other part of that special event application, you want to do that now, Dave? I don't see, there's not anybody here to answer any questions about that.
Yeah, that's right, Rita. I'd hoped Nat would be able to join us tonight. We sent him invitations, but something's held him up. So you all have a copy of his application in the packet. A bit of a different animal here. This would be considered an event in the sense of scheduled, performance by a puppet troupe, a traveling puppet show, as it were. I believe this will work out of a trailer, a pretty neat concept here. And so Nathaniel Allister is his name. He works out of Minneapolis and runs Fox and Beggar Theater. And he has a request before us for a performance, what would be the Labor Day, Saturday, I believe, on the 9th of September. Sorry, Friday night of Labor Day weekend, 7:30 p.m., downtown Harbor Park. And probably not very clearly spelled out here, but as I said, I've spoken with Nat in the last month, and he has a custom trailer built that really sort of folds out into a stage, a performing theater, puppet theater. So it's mobile. I believe he's working with some local artists on this, and he would be very much looking forward to a show in Harbor Park on that Friday of Labor Day weekend. He's got the COVID-19 preparedness plan that was written as if it was going to happen this spring or, in the current restrictions. And I think he's got everything covered there. As far as, distance and mass, there won't be any food or beverage served. And again, he's looking for a crowd in Harbor Park of between 100 and 200 people on that Friday evening in September. So to me, very straightforward application in terms of use of space, no additional requirements on our behalf, no additional staff time needed. And I think a really neat idea. Just for a little background, we had a traveling puppet show at the Pavilion here a number of years ago. The On Time Circus was a really neat creation of Margot McCree-Lee. And I attended it personally with my children, and we loved it. It was very artistic and very loud and energetic, and I would expect more of the same in this performance. So.
Okay, so without seeing the COVID preparedness ourselves, you were comfortable with what he was going to do with that?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Rita, did that not make the packet?
I don't see that in mine, but.
No, I'm sorry. I do have it in hand. It's very, very thorough.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with this. They're going to, here's some more background. So he has a touring cast of 14. Okay. They're all fully vaccinated. It's entirely run and operated by the cast. We expect it unlikely that the COVID-19 virus is transmitted through our staff. However, due to the nature of the performance happening in public spaces, we also hold ourselves responsible for the safety of any and all attendance members. So he's, definitely got all the boxes checked on meeting stay safe guidelines, mask requirements. Yeah, he's got it all covered here in the COVID plan.
Okay, good. Okay, well, do we have a motion to approve the Goodnight Absalom Theater Puppet Show?
I so move.
In a second? I'll second it. And we'll vote on it. Bob?
Yes.
Or you- Okay. And Frankie?
Yes.
Steve?
Aye.
And myself as an aye. So that is approved.
Thank you all, letting that know.
All right, next on our agenda, looks like Paul, a golf report.
Hello. Yeah, I just want to say that we don't have tipping up here. There's no tipping.
No busking.
No, but well, yeah. Let's see. I guess that for one thing, we're going to be opening up on Saturday, this Saturday, which is earlier than in the past 2 seasons. Course is looking good. We've got little winter damage, which is normal, and it recovers pretty quick. The greens are good. We've got one green number 2's got a little winter damage on it, but these are things that recover pretty early in the season here. So yeah, the course conditions are good, and so we're going to be opening May 8th. That'll be our opener. We are just starting up and learning about a new system that we're incorporating for online booking for tee times and things like that. It's affiliated with our POS system. So that's kind of new. Along with that, the running of the clubhouse, we've got, our full-time personnel from last year was injured over the winter, so she was not going to be able to return this year at all. So, we just had a gentleman come in and apply for the job last week, and it looks really good for us there. So we're happy about that. Let's see. The other thing that we had talked about was we've got some new cards coming in. 3 new cards. They were, normally they would be here by now, but they were held up in production because of some parts issues. I talked to the rep on a regular basis, and he's telling me now that production is supposed to be sometime here by the end of May. Production on our units, and so that's good. That's almost a month earlier than he had.
When do you want me to come in?
I'll have to call you.
Okay.
So that's about a month earlier than he had forecasted prior. So that's good. The other thing that I don't know if this is the appropriate place to talk about this, but we do our beer ordering just before our opener, and so our suppliers are coming through and they're going to be shipping us before our opener. Now we have at our facility, we have what's called a 3-2 license for 3-2 beer. And so there's a 3-2 beer, which is has a little less alcohol content at it, and typically was something that you could get at your corner gas station. And then the people that had the liquor stores and the bars, they had a different kind of beer that was, that's mainly what people usually buy when they drink a beer. And it's got a little stronger alcohol content. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but at any rate, the what we're running into now is that with the 3-2 industry seems to be kind of getting pinched. I don't know how to describe it, but I think they had some problems with their aluminum cans. And issues with these beer producers. So the 3-2 is not their prime. As prime a business as their other businesses is much more demanding. So, I'm thinking that I don't know how one goes about upgrading a license from a 3-2 to a regular beer, but I think that would be a really good thing to pursue here. I think that talking to the rep, for one thing, this was the company that handles Coors, which is, that was one of our Coors and Miller. So those are popular brands, and we won't be able to get those this year because they aren't going to produce a 3.2 product because of various reasons and pressures in their business. But they have other options for us. So they're, but the thing is we're in our category here with beer and beers are, kind of goes with the game a little bit. But the thing is that, I think that if we upgraded our license, I think it would definitely be a positive step related to our sales,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The one thing that that people have talked about here prior to me, that like there's a big sign, no bringing your own beer on site, and sometimes people do that because they don't want to drink a 3.2 beer, or sometimes they're just cheap, but a lot of times they just they have a beer preference, and I think that I think we'd be able to address that better with a normal beer license rather than a 3.2 license.
Dave, don't we get the license from the city?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Paul and I have just been going through this. It's through the county, actually. We have a non-intoxicating beverage license, that being the 3.2 license. The little bit I know on this might not be the full story, but when we looked into this several years ago with our golf course task force on improving the clubhouse, the idea of getting a strong liquor license to sell, spirits and strong beer is directly tied to food sales. And we can do more, research on this, but I'm almost certain that to hold a strong license, you need to make X number of dollars on food sales, like 60% of your sales or 40% of your sales need to be food service. So I completely agree with Paul. The 3.2 is out, but in order to move to that next step of full strength, I'm pretty certain we're going to have to look at some significant food upgrading, and we don't have a commercial kitchen up there.
Maybe we can get Twinkie to have a van outside.
Well, not so
burgers.
much a food truck, but a pizza oven. This was very, very preliminary research a few years ago, but the idea of like getting a pizza oven, that we can just whip out the tombstones in, I think for a lot of places sometimes makes that or meets that requirement to sell X amount of food in order to sell strong liquor. Yeah,
and there's another gizmo that I remember seeing from one of my buddies. It's a pro. He had this really slick thing, and it's a like a deep fat fryer, which you can do cheese curds and chicken wings and whatever else you deep fry. But the thing is, you just drop your things in this door, shut it, and say that takes 5 minutes, and you got cheese curds that take 3 minutes. Then you drop those in 2 minutes later, and it all spits out the other side into a this is just a little machine. It's not like a major renovation to the building. It's just something that you can put on a surface and then use, and then I'm sure you have to vent it some way, but there's machines like that make doing that kind of business pretty almost like as easy as using a microwave in a way.
Before we get too far into the food question, or the hard liquor question for that matter, it's my impression that beer is on a slightly, or beer and wine are on a slightly different license basis than whiskey and other big alcohol beverages. So there might be a reduced cost, and there might not be such a requirement of food if it was only beer and wine or only beer. But if there isn't such a category, there's nothing that says that we couldn't ask the county to create a license for our operation, or that would fit our operation.
I'm not sure.
Except the fact that there's what amounts to kind of a stupid rule. All we want is for people to drag some beer around in their cart.
Well, I think some of the rules are, like 3-2, you have gas stations and people like that selling it. So if they just allowed everybody to sell the regular beer, that could affect a business that was nearby that was selling like a liquor store or whatever. They wouldn't be in favor of that. So I know that much, but I think that the strong, when you get into strong beer, I think that goes into the same area as the strong liquor too. I don't envision
Nobody
this.
knows though, if I understand it correctly. We haven't looked at the rules and looked to see whether or not there's a possibility. I suggest that a little research would be appropriate before we decide what to do.
I think that would be the next step.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm thinking that would be something that would be, beneficial to the business here and to the, people's experience here.
By the way, if you never sell Coors beer, I won't mind. They're non-union and aggressively so.
What about Coors beer?
Coors is non-union and aggressively so.
Yeah. So does that mean what? More bubbles or?
That means I wouldn't sell Coors if I had the choice.
Oh, because they're non-union.
And I never drink it. It's kind of pale.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, let's keep all those politics out of the meeting. And Paul, do you want to research that, or is that something you should research, Dave, as far as a license with a little stronger?
Sure. Between the two of us, we can come up with
Okay.
requirements.
And see what's required and bring it up in the next meeting, Paul? Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing too that I didn't mention, I think that as far as our advertising stuff, I'm kind of pursuing some social media things and talking with some people on that now, and so I'm hopeful to have some information on what that's going to do and the related costs, whatever. But I really think that.
Oh, Paul, on a micro basis, you'll be letting WTIP and the newspaper know that you're opening this weekend.
WTIP, yeah.
And the newspaper do.
He's asking if you're going to let them know you're opening this weekend, so people in the community know.
Yeah, yes, we will.
Okay. Sounds good. The social media platforms that you're doing, I'm assuming, is that like to have a Facebook page about the golf course, or what are you suggesting?
Well, I think it's what I'm interested in is, exploring the ways that, if people are looking at golf stuff on their cell phones and things like that,
Sure.
then it kind of, there's methods that you can get your ads or your website link or pop up, on their information. And so whenever they've been in that mode, if you know that they're a golfer or they're vacationing up here, it pops in there somehow. That's what I'm trying to find out about.
Oh, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, well, I've seen it done, and it's effective, I think.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Yeah, Paul and I have been talking about this for a bit. What's missing right now is our really good content, right? Like the really slick video or the drone footage or something that really fills that ad out. And so we'll be working with Patrick and photography and sound, and all of that is what's missing, is the actual professional looking ad. It's, I think, easy to buy bandwidth and ad space with Facebook and YouTube. It's quite something else to have a slick ad that people actually watch.
Sure. Well, it sounds like good ideas.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're also just now placing an ad with the News Herald. Of course, the local Cook County News Herald, a great source for getting with the Cook County crowd on season pass sales and season opener. There'll be a big full color ad coming out on Friday. Look who's here. We got Craig Schulte in the house.
Okay.
And Yoda.
And Yoda.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry to steal your thunder.
Yeah, it's all right.
But yeah, season opener, September 8th.
And I just have a quick question, Paul. Did we have you had a lot of memberships renew this month?
No, that usually happens right when people are coming into the golf.
Okay,
And that's another thing that we're looking forward to our this online service. It's gonna kind of get things in a different mode as far as being in communication and people having different options when to book or to get their to get their memberships. So it'll make it a lot more convenient for all these things.
okay. Sounds good.
Well, when it comes to marketing the benefit for city residents, I wonder if the city of Grand Marais has any kind of either mailing list or email list that
I'm glad
to let
I'm glad
all the residents of the city know that they've got a right to this lower
I'm
price.
glad that you brought that up because we get a lot of confusion about that. Everybody's address is Grand Marais, whether and they're in the county. So we have to explain this to people in detail, and makes it kind of awkward. But I'm wondering, seems to me if you're built for city services, isn't that the clientele we're talking about, or?
Right.
Probably,
Well,
I would think so.
on city services, you are in the city zoning area. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is everybody that's in the city zoning area pay for city services like that?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's a thought. I don't know, if you're, I don't know how you advertise that, if we're doing your sewage, then you get the discount,
Well, it's probably mostly electric if you're receiving the utilities from the city utility office. Then you're
okay.
a member of the, then you're zoned in the city.
Yeah, so I guess that'd be, if there's a way that we can, figure out how to
You might
capture.
be able to get the city to incorporate a little notice about the benefit for being a city resident to mail out with the next bill. We just got this month's bill, but at a minimum, everybody can save a lot of postage. What they send out now is just one sheet of paper per address. You could easily put a second sheet in there with no additional postage.
Yeah, and onto that newsletter idea, Steve, we do have a newsletter through the city. Patrick's in charge of it. It just went out last Friday. It's a monthly newsletter. So the May newsletter was just released last Friday. It featured the Gunflint Hills Golf Course and the season pass sale and the discount for city residents. So we are trying to get that word out amongst the
Who gets
citizens.
that?
But the idea of putting it in the utility bills is a winner. That's a good one.
Who gets the newsletters from the city?
Sorry, Rita, who is in charge of that?
No, do you have to sign up for that? I don't get that.
Yeah, you have to sign up for it. It's on the website, city website. You can sign up.
Okay, thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, so I think, rather than advertising a city discount, if there was a way to put it out in a format like that, it might be a better situation for us up here.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. We're going right on this on the News Herald ad. It's still a draft, but I did have this fine print at the bottom that's says to this effect. Thank you to the citizens of Grand Marais for your support as a discount. Enjoy 15% off. So it's difficult. It's only for the citizens of Grand Marais. It's for taxpayers of Grand Marais because their tax is already subsidizing the course. That was the idea of the discount as like a rebate or an incentive because a citizen of Grand Marais is already paying for the course out of their local property tax.
But I think people, when you say citizen of Grand Marais is confused, they can be confused by that only because if their mailing address is in Grand Marais, they think they're a citizen of Grand Marais, but they're really not.
Yeah. And so maybe we leave that out of the News Herald ad, and yet we target the tax payers through their utility bills.
Yeah, if you're able to give those people a coupon or something like this, or notice that way, that would be direct information to them, and then we wouldn't get anybody, the county people with Grand Marais addresses,
Right. Wouldn't even
confused.
know about it.
That'd be great.
One question, what about if you are a county resident but you own a business in the city?
I think it applies if you're a city taxpayer.
Yep.
If you pay taxes on that business, you get the discount.
I agree.
Now, if you're a renter,
Back up for just a minute. Is there a city property tax?
Yes, there is.
let's hope we get enough interest to actually worry about this.
There you go. That's good. But I think that we have solved a few issues for Paul that if we don't put it out there like that and we get it out to the city taxpayers, and there shouldn't be so many people asking Paul about that and why they're not getting it.
So the city property tax is almost comparable to the county property tax.
It is.
So people living in the city pay a huge amount more taxes than the county does.
We do. We do. Yep. Okay, is there any more discussion for Paul and the golf course? Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. We're excited for you. Great work getting that course ready so soon.
Well, great. Thank you very much.
We'll send everybody up there Saturday. Take your mom golfing, right? Mother's Day Sunday.
Mother's Day golfing. There you
Bring
go.
her on.
Thanks,
Okay.
Paul.
Bye now.
Bye now.
I'm going to jump here, Rita. I got Craig, obviously, for City Council, but it looks like Nat Allister has joined us for
He
the
did,
little bit of detail on the puppet show. Your event was approved, Nat, but tell us about it. Oh, you're muted.
You just need to take the speaker off, Nat. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so sorry I'm late here. I assume you all had plenty of other things to do, but the afternoon totally got away from me. But yeah, Dave, did you say just give the basic elevator pitch or?
Yeah, that'd be great, Nat. I tried, and it must have worked because they approved the application.
Awesome. Okay. Well, the shortest explanation I can give is that I run a performing arts company based out of the Twin Cities. It's a little bit circus, a little bit theater, a little bit dance, and a little bit puppetry. And we are currently building a mobile pop-up double-decker proscenium stage out of an 18-foot box truck. And the side folds down, and it's got curtains and solar-powered lights and its solar-powered sound and everything, all the bells and whistles, everything you need for pop-up instant entertainment. So we are we're optimistic that we are going to be able to do a 1-month tour around the Great Lakes of a show that I wrote and directed last year as a sort of quarantine project. We just did it for ourselves in the woods and filmed it, but this year we want to get it in front of a live audience and in the form of a number of free, all ages, open to the public performances. The show is called Goodnight Absalom. It is a spaghetti western black comedy, all revolving around a game of chess in the Wild West. It's got a live a band performing on the roof, playing an original score, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we are initially the dates we had proposed. They are still possible, though. We might be tipping slightly more towards wanting to do it in Grand Marais the first week of October. We actually are starting and ending our tour on the North Shore, and possibly rather than doing it at the very beginning, we might want to do it at the very end. So I wanted to see with you all today if that might also be possible. But that's the basic pitch. Does anybody have any questions that I could help clarify?
It's just one show, correct, Nat?
Correct.
7 Okay.
Yep. There's we would be more than happy to do a Q&A with anybody after the fact. That can be pretty informal, that can be pretty casual, but I think most performances we're going to invite people to stick around afterwards if there's time and if the venue is happy with it, and do maybe a 20 or 30 minute Q&A with the cast, just to connect with our audiences a little bit and so on and so forth. But yeah.
Okay. I would say then that just letting us know as soon as you can on dates in case there's another permit of somebody that wants to do something for that weekend.
Okay.
in Harbor Park. We've got you scheduled right now for the 3rd.
The 3rd of September.
Yes, of September. Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the problem is late October, you're more apt to get into some bad weather.
This would be early October. This would be the first Friday of October. So
One
1 month.
question, and that is, you're going to need to be setting up at least a few minutes before 7:30. By when do you want to have exclusive access to that space?
That's a great question. I don't think we'd ever need exclusive access. If we are not in anybody else's way, and if they're not in our way, we are more than happy to be setting up while there's people around us, and it might even help get excitement for the show later on. Is there anything else that would be programmed earlier in the day?
Well, that's what I don't know, and that's why I thought perhaps it would make some sense for you to give some indication of when you want to be able to be there doing your setup and that sort of thing ahead of the 7:30 time.
Yes, thank you. I think we would probably be there on the earlier side that day, and would rather have everything set up nice and early than wait until the last minute. So possibly, would it work to come in at noon and start a slow, smooth, maybe 2 or 3 person setup, and potentially take a break in the afternoon and evening after it's all done?
I think that would be fine. There's nothing scheduled. I would just say that, we're going to have the music in the Harbor Park. So if we're doing something like this, we should probably make sure it's put on that computer program so we don't conflict with anybody playing the music at the same time. That's the only concern I would say, but I don't see any problem with times earlier. Do you, Dave?
No, it'll be fine.
Sounds exciting.
Thank you. I suppose it actually just was today, as I did another day of tour planning stuff, that it might have tipped, the scales might have tipped to be more likely leaning towards October. Maybe I should just go ahead and switch that right now while I'm on the line with you all.
Okay. So you want to do it on a Friday again?
Yeah, so let me just pull up my calendar here.
That would be the 1st.
The 1st?
It's Friday the 1st.
Right, yep.
Okay. So we are going to amend this application to read October 1st from 7:30 to 9 o'clock.
Let's do it.
Okay. That's what we have you down for. I don't think that we need to revote. You've been approved. We'll just amend the application here for that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I would say at this stage, it's far enough out.
Yep.
Even if you still want a little contingency in that, I would take that, and once it's completely firmed up, then we'll go with that. But don't feel like you're on the spot right now to choose.
Thanks. I think I am actually ready to commit to that officially with this phone call. So, but I appreciate you saying that either way. So
great.
Yep.
Thank you, Nat. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you all so much. I really am too.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you as well. Take care.
And it looks like we've got James on here too. How are you, James? Hit your microphone button.
Great. I guess I kind of got a weird space on the schedule with James under old business, even though he's fresh.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But we can just keep going with it, and then we'll proceed with Craig.
Okay.
Since we're in the creative spirit.
Sure.
Welcome, James.
Well, happy May the 4th be with you all today. Sorry, I had Dave knew I had just asked. I said, when he said that the meeting was going to be on May the 4th, I said, is everyone going to be wearing Star Wars? And he's like, oh no, but you should. So
there you go.
Maybe he gave me more. Well, yeah. So sorry, sorry. I just happen to have a Yoda mask and a lightsaber. Just it's just such an occasion. But yeah, do any of you have any things have been moving along pretty well with preparation for the Spring Sound Garden over Memorial Day weekend? Part of Art Along the Lake. Frankie, I would like to connect with you directly outside of this. But maybe you can give me, I don't know if you prefer a phone number, a phone call or an email, but to just, when I'm there, when I come up, I'm coming up a week before the event and going to do some interviews with local folks about Harbor Park. So I'd love, if you're up for it, to just, my dream is to meet with people actually at the park, and with my little audio recorder, be able to record you telling a story or two. I'm looking at Friday, the 21st of May as the day I've set aside to try to do that, of course, weather permitting. So if do you want to just give me is there a good way to just get in touch with you, Frankie, after today?
Well, I have, my email is Jarko, my last name.
Yep.
@boyle.org.
Okay. Is that a good way to do it? Would that be the best way?
Now, the 21st doesn't work for me because my son is coming for a 3-day visit.
Oh, okay. Would it be better to do it on Thursday, the day before?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also on Thursday. I'm also scheduled to go over to the middle school and work with all of Mila's art students, because they're going to be putting together these pots as part of the project too. So, but I think that's like early afternoon. So, do you think would it work to? And I'm doing an interview with JC and WTIP in the morning. So, but would like later in the afternoon, like 3 o'clock or something, work for you?
I'm sure that would be perfect.
Okay, I'll send you. I'll just double check with Mila to make sure make sure what time those classes are over, to give me enough time to get down there to meet you. But I'll send you an email, and we can just kind of finalize that. But this goes for anyone else too. If you can get a hold of me through Dave. If any of you or know somebody who may have had a particular connection to Harbor Park or the site before that, or just has a good story about Harbor Park, that would be kind of a fun thing to add to this oral history collection that we're doing with the museum. And the idea is that I'll record people telling the story in the park, and then at a particular spot in the park. And what will happen is that then from that point on, if we end up using that recording, when people want to go and do this like guided tour walk, audio tour walk with an app on their phone, when they go to a particular spot, they'll hear those different stories. So at one spot, it'll be Gene Erickson talking about the gas station and selling it and all of that, and some of those stories. And another spot would be Frankie. Another spot will be some of Stacy's stories that she wrote about the park. So there'll be and some poems and things like that. So it would be mixed in. So I'm just planning on trying to do that recording on Friday the 21st or Saturday the 22nd, just to give me time then to process everything and have it all up and ready for the event. So, so if anyone has ideas or people that you want to pass along, you can also.
There's just a thought, James. There's a lot of business owners that have been in the community for a long time, or passed down through their families. So that might be something interesting, because there's a lot of businesses right around Harbor Park. So that's a thought.
Yeah, I mean, people are always saying like, "Oh, I know who would be good for this," and so I'm just putting it out there that people can either reach me directly or through Katie at the History Museum. She's also coordinating on her end, so kind of lining up slots for when people could meet me to do an interview. So, Frankie, I'll just do it directly with you over email with you and I. But I'm just opening it up to other people too. Anyone else who may have a good story to tell. Yeah, it'll be pretty easy, and it's not going to be a big deal or difficult, I don't think so.
What kind of story do you want me to tell?
Well, the thing I was particularly interested in was like how the garden club was involved, and what kinds of things you guys were doing in shaping the park when it first got together. Because I know there was a lot of people putting in so many volunteer hours to get to do the plantings and to help. Just that elbow grease that was so necessary to kind of get it off the ground. But you may have other story, just about even just talking a little bit about what the Grand Marais Garden Club is, because it's still going, and if people might not know about it and be interested in joining, or so all of that, just so people kind of realize like that a place like Harbor Park doesn't just show up one day. It's like it takes a lot of people really believing in something and believe in creating a space that's shared for everybody, you know? So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like wanting to just tell that story through the people that were involved as much as we can, and preserve those stories for people so that they can remember, and they can be there in Harbor Park for, you know, however long there's this technology for people to walk in and hear this stories of like, how did this place get to be here? So
Sounds good.
okay, I'll send you an email, and we can follow up about that. Did anyone else have any other particular questions about how things are going or plans?
I assume you're getting it out, advertise the local areas with WTIP and so forth.
Yep, I'll be doing, I'm actually recording an interview with Will tomorrow. And then, like I said, that week before on the Thursday morning, I'm doing an interview on the morning show too. So, and then Kirsty's been doing a bunch of, you know, promotional stuff and press releases. And we've been working media down here in the cities as well as like Duluth and up there. So yeah. And the call that we're also trying to make is just trying to see, get a few volunteers. And Dave's going to be talking to folks at the campground, seasonal folks. And so we've got a really easy link that people can just go to the sign up form if they're interested in volunteering. And it's mostly, we're just looking for people to volunteer as greeters at the event, which just entails people being at the entrances and being able to say, hey, welcome. This is what this is. If you need a mask, we have them here. If you need some hand sanitizer, it's over there. Here's where you can pick up a program that gives a map of the event. And if for some reason we're having having to be a little more strict about some, any kind of COVID protocol stuff about like, oh, we should only have certain entrances be entrances and others be exits. And that's where the greeters will help out with any kind of other handling we need to do with people. But it's mostly just to let people feel welcome and realize that there's an event, but that they're welcome to come, and that, and how to find their way around, because it's a self-guided event. So it's not like they're going to walk in, it's going to be obvious, but at least they'll walk in and they'll realize, oh, there's an oral history thing. There's guided history tour. I guess Katie's decided she'll go ahead with doing some guided history walks, or the harbor history walks. So people can do that at a couple times during the event, both days. And like I said, Mila's doing a couple different cool kind of group art projects that with the students and then also some other folks. So and actually Annette at Joy & Company is putting something together too. So there's going to be so many layers of different things happening. So yeah, lots of moving parts.
Sounds fun. Well, thank you.
Do you want me to? I think I've sent that. And when I'm on Zoom, I can just put a link in the chat, and I don't know if there's a way to share some. I have this little link that for people that are interested in volunteering. I could share it in here if that's a helpful way. Otherwise, I can also just send it to you, Dave, which I think I already did, and I think I sent it to Patrick too.
Yeah. No, we've got it. We'll get it out.
Okay, great, wonderful. Well. Sounds like I don't need to take any more of your time. Sam, I don't know if you got the Facebook thing or I just invited
I did. I found it and I approved it and put it out there.
Cool. Great. Yeah. Because I thought that might be a good way to do the volunteer, if I don't know how many seasonals are kind of tapped into that, but you can.
I'll add the link to it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. Is that it, Dave? Are we good?
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Rita. Thanks everyone for.
May the 4th be with you. Thank you, James. We'll see you on the 19th.
Yep. Thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.
All right. Craig's hiding back there. I can't see him very well, but ready for the city council report.
Yeah, well, pretty much the only thing on the agenda last week was discussion of the dog pound and how it exists, or as it exists. And it sounds like that we have pretty good cooperation with the county that wants to help with placement and the construction of the building. And I think they're for sure they're in as a partner with the city, and also the is it Animal Allies, or what's the
Animal
Allies? They also have money that they want to put into this. So currently we're searching for a location, and a high priority for that location would be, we necessarily don't need septic, but we need water. So we're looking at trying to find something that's not going to be the best use for that building. We do have, Mark Peterson has designed a 20 by 30 building, and we have a builder also that is willing to help construct. So those things are kind of getting taken care of. The biggest thing is searching for a location. And we feel that that location should be within the city limits of Grand Marais. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Placement is the big thing. And also we do understand that moving forward quickly is what we want to do too. So, so if anybody has any ideas on locations, I've been driving around looking, I've got a couple that I've kind of looked at. But you got, it's just, you got to work with other people to see if those are the best locations. But anyway, that's done. That was all of our agenda actually last week. I was talking about the dog pound.
Greg?
Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sure that you don't want septic when you put in a pound?
Well, if it's easy, I think it probably would be there. It just depends on. We are looking also, Pat Eliason was going to look into if there's any state ordinance that we must have to follow too. So there's some there might be some minimum requirements that we have to do when you do a facility like this too. I don't know what those are right now, but septic might be
we used to run.
It has to be. We don't know yet.
And we used to run sled dogs, and we had them out in the country, of course. But if you tried to do sled dogs in the city without septic, it would be a real risky thing for the neighbors, even if you were real tidy. So even a floor drain in a concrete floor building would require septic in the city.
Yeah.
Unless you're outside of the limits, let me tell you, I mean, dogs are 365, and cats are no better.
Well, we went through the records, and we average about 20 dogs a year that go through the pound. So it just depends on if the volume increases, then I understand that. Right now, it's just trying to get a facility up in case we have any type of emergency situations come up with dogs, right? They're having people take the dogs now and take care of them until they get placed, that kind of thing. But
if you
no, it's not. When I talk
in the city's sewer system, you don't need septic.
What's that?
I say, if you find a place to locate this small building that's within the city sewer system, you don't need septic at all.
Well, no. I don't mean septic as far as septic tank. This will be in the city, and it will be water from the city. And if we put in sewer, it'll be sewer from the city. Yeah, there'll be no septic system. That is cost prohibitive for what we're looking at doing here.
And there's also zoning issues because not every area in the city is zoned to be able to have a dog.
Yeah. There's properties close to law enforcement we're looking at because that would be convenient for law enforcement. Mm-hmm. That's who's enforcing this. And then possibly other closer places. And then I mentioned at the city council meeting, and I don't know, if this is a possibility, but maybe there's somebody out there in the private sector that says, hey, maybe we have a piece of land that works. This is going to be a 20 by 30 building. It's not going to take up a lot of space. They do want some area though to walk dogs, and a couple, maybe 2 to 3 parking spots. So that's another possibility that I threw out there. So anyway, right now the main ambition is to find a site that we can narrow down and say, hey, this is where we're going to build this. So
I have a question. Don't you need someplace where people can take their dogs to walk? I mean, that's a different situation, but right now they're walking them in the horse park, and most people don't like that.
Yeah.
I have one other question, and that is if the dog pound building priority is just to get something built, it might be good to make the 20 by 30 building be the sort of thing that you could move to where you wanted it to be permanently if you're not totally satisfied with the location for a long term.
Yeah, I thought of that too, but then I also thought, I think they want this on a cement slab, but that doesn't mean you couldn't put it on a cement slab at some later time. But yeah, it could be moved. It could be a building that could be moved. There's all these things that it could happen, you know. But between the county, between the three entities, I think we can find a piece of land. It's just that when you find something and you want to put it there, then obvious questions come by. Well, is that the best use for that property? And you know, well, maybe that's not where that type of facility should go. So let's go try to find a different place. So that's kind of what's happened a couple of times on some sites. We're not ruling out the possibility of any place, but I think we'll find something. It's not going to require a lot of space, and I think we can fit it somewhere on city property.
And you said there's only about 12 animals a year?
20.
20.
Yeah, they have about 20 a year, yeah. I mean, it's not, you know, when you talk dog pound, this isn't like a high volume thing.
Right, it's
Most
not.
of these animals are animals that were just loose in the city, or a situation where maybe somebody passes away and they have a pet and they have to hold it temporarily till they can replace it somewhere. Those types of things.
What about talking to the local vet over in the business park? Is that
Well, I think that was talked about, and what I got back out of that was they're not too comfortable taking in a stray dog that they don't know where it came from or what shots it's had or hasn't had, and they didn't want to like commingle them in with the other pets that they may have in that facility. That was part of an argument that they had posed. But it was something that I thought of as the volume was not so high that, and then you know, on the flip side of that, I think the city pays about $1,500 a year is what we've been paying to provide electricity and heat to the current pound. So if there was a
credit towards the vet,
there could be a credit to somebody, you know, if you have a facility already, I think that there could be some type of money available for the person who's willing to do this, you know. Anyway, yeah.
Right, okay.
If you have a concrete floor, you're going to need a floor drain, and that'll need city sewer. And then dogs are not inherently quiet. Again, we used to run dogs. We tried keeping them in the city. We had concrete bottoms. We had to put them out in the country. There are just things to look ahead toward that are going to be problematic. Neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've looked into things like that, but.
Yeah, I don't think they want to place it in a residential area, definitely.
Right.
Well, that's about all I have, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Parks report, Dave.
Uh-oh. Well, yeah, camera shift. Yes, Parks report came across the wire this midday. Hopefully everyone's got a copy. I'll start at the top here. We've got the staff back. The seasonal staff started a week or so ago on a snowy day in April, last Monday. I don't know if anyone remembers, it was snowing heavily. We were turning on the water, and luckily it all came back to life without too much drama. We don't have any major leak. That's always good news. We opened bathhouse number 1 and 4 on Saturday, May 1st, right on time for our scheduled full service season opener now. So we have all the sites have water on. Bathhouse 1 and 4 are open. The dump station's open. We're pretty quiet right now, as usual. It's still pretty chilly. We got the usual handful of seasonals back. They're very happy to be in. And then a couple of overnighters. We don't get really, really busy until Memorial Day weekend. And so we've got all month now to be bringing stuff back online. We expect all the bathhouses open by the middle of the month. The rec hall is open for groups of 25 or smaller with COVID plans. And we've got some families that'll be using that over the Memorial Day weekend, which is graduation weekend as well. So yes, nice to have this softer, slower opening in May that we're accustomed to. Nice to have the seasonal staff back as well. Office hours are generally 8 to 4 right now, 7 days a week. Although, Sundays, if it's raining, we might not be here all day. But by the Memorial Day weekend, we'll be full speed ahead. June 15th is typically the date for on season, when like every night's a weekend. And so office hours will be extended through as we approach that date. We'll start to stay open a little later for like Friday night check-ins, even for the weekend of Memorial Day. Obviously, we got a huge amount checking in that Friday. We'll be open till 8. And then starting May 15th, we'll be 8 to 8, our regular scheduled hours, 8 to 8. May 15th through Labor Day, at least, probably more like September 15th.
June 15th.
June 15th.
Sorry, June 15th. Thanks, Sam. Still looking for a couple of workers, though. If anyone has some last minute leads on seasonal employees, we've got a few folks hired. Do youngsters as well. We saw keen interest from the 14-year-olds, which is nice to see. And so hopefully we can keep those young fellas busy and keep them here for the next few seasons as well. We look at it as a team that we can build now young and hopefully retain over the next several summers as these kids go through their high school experience. So we're okay for staff. The good news from Paul, as you heard earlier, was that he secured a clubhouse attendant, as that was our real critical need. So, but if anyone knows of good helpers, send them our way as always. Big stir last week when local artist Corey Steckelberg unveiled her Woodland Caribou. I think lots of press coverage on this. I saw cool pictures on the radio, and I'm sure the newspaper will cover this as well. But the 3 Woodland Caribou are out. We installed those last Thursday. There's one of them downtown in Harbor Park, right front and center, basically to the west of the red pine tree. And then 2 of them over here in the park, one of them on the hillside as you leave up by the retention pond, which is really neat because you can see it from the highway too, glancing down. It definitely gives you that, what is that experience? And then the final 3rd caribou is out back and the Sweetheart's Bluff. And again, a bit set off the trail. It's more of a discovery, I would say, for you to find the 3rd one out in Sweetheart's Bluff. But these are really neat looking creations. Corey has the intention to leave these on the land for a full year as they are sowed and seeded and will be sprouting flowers and trees soon. So interesting to watch these evolve. And Once and Future is the title of her work. And she's been back now busying like finishing touches on these beasts, as well as I think there'll be some signage or some, I don't know if it's a QR code or what, that'll be able to interpret them more for folks that are interested in just what it is they're looking at. We did a little landscaping project last month over by Boulder Park. I don't know if anyone's noticed, for years we've had sort of an overflow parking scenario where people would get into that cobblestone area that's out front of the boulders of Boulder Park during peak weekends and picnic weekends. And that was always full of cars and never really felt right. Well, it really was wrong when one of them hit the Wayne Potrant's canoe sculpture that was donated by Wayne a few summers ago. We put a little canoe on the edge of the cobblestone over there, and it did get hit, gosh, a year ago or so. I think it was the summer of 2019. And so we've taken that in. It's down to Last Chance Fabrication in Lutsen for repair. And part of the contingency with putting that back out was to protect it from future damage. So we placed some large boulders along that northern edge of the parking lot and created a little picnic area in there, as well as reserving that space for pedestrians and strolling. So that's what we did over there. Also, lots of picnic tables downtown. The Downtown Business Coalition, it's a working group of the chamber, had requested more picnic tables to accommodate all the outside dining. Last year, we met them with that request to about maybe 12 or 15 tables we issued last summer. We've since bulked up that fleet to a good 24. There's additional tables on the library lawn, the Boulder Park area, Harbor Park, quite a nice ring around the harbor, as well as all of our picnic space over here in the park. We want to remind folks they're free to picnic at the pavilion or down at the marina. So lots of great service there. Last item's a big one. It's the Parkside Public Water Access Plan. I included a new modeled rendering in your packet, the full color feature here. I'll try my luck at screen sharing so we can all look at this. Just today I was down on site. Everybody seeing this?
You said it's in our packet, Dave? I don't know how I missed that one.
Yeah, it was, it could have, I thought it was in the email packet. It might not have made the mailed out packet. But Is everybody seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is our Parkside project in a, I think, sort of easy view, quick kind of concept overview that we wanted to create something that was going to be a big poster, more or less. We're going to put this big on the construction site down there so people know what we're up to. How's that for scale? Okay, so this summer they'll be working on the break wall, just the breakwater, not the parking lot or the boat ramp. We just met with Vite Construction today down at the site. The big news is they intend to start this project the breakwall project, late June, early July. So there's some moratorium for working in the water because of Lake Superior fish spawn that restricts in-water work up until June 1st. We're hoping these folks from Vite would get the project started early June, but it's looking more like late June, early July, at which point the entire site will be closed down to the public. The Vite also is under contract with the city to do the public works garage demolition. So I believe they'll be on that when they're not making breakwater progress. They are going to be demolishing the old public works shop down there as well. So in an effort to protect public safety, there's going to be a very obvious closed at the end of the road there, right south of the pavilion. There'll be construction, fencing, and signage, and a controlled access gate so that this entire site will be closed down to the public starting late June. It's likely they'll begin work in the water after the busy 4th of July weekend. And the completion date for substantially being complete, which is another way of saying more or less complete, is September, late September, the 28th. Is when they need to be done with all in the water work. They expect the breakwater to be complete and the sidewalk to be accessible by the end of September. And then final completion, which is when they clean up the site and remove all their equipment, would be by October 28th. That's just the first phase of this project where we're doing the breakwater this summer. Phase 2 is going to be next summer, and that'll involve rebuilding the boat ramp itself, in the water ramp, the concrete ramp, and then the paved parking lot with stormwater management and landscaping and all that good stuff.
So where are the parking lot that's there? Will that be open for boat trailers this year?
Only up until that late June date, not after the site.
Not after?
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Where are people going to be parking all their boats and trailers? Where's the?
So I'm already reaching out to that fleet. The trailers that usually collect down there are the seasonal slip holders in the marina.
Okay.
So I'm telling them anywhere but here. I think for years they've sort of enjoyed that luxury of being able to store their trailer on site for no additional fee. And yet now the time has come when we are really full and we don't have an auxiliary parking lot to offer those trailers for summer storage. And so I'll just be working with those individual slip owners to make sure they don't park it up down there. I know we do also collect quite a bit of extra stuff from citizens, and we'll be having to be diligent to make sure all that stuff stays out of there in June.
Well, like Davey, people that launch their boats daily and just go out where?
Yeah, they're gonna have to struggle across the bay. You know, Rita, the boat launch at the Coast Guard station is still the official launch on the DNR's maps. And when you sort of do a Google boat launch search for Grand Marais, it points you to the Coast Guard ramp.
Okay.
And we know parking's in demand there on any given afternoon, and it's going to be competitive. And I'm sure there'll be some unhappy boaters. We just kind of know this going into it. We're going to try to do as much PR as we can on this. Certainly locally, the word is out. We'll be on the radio, on the social, on the newsletters. This has already been pushed heavily in the city newsletters, even though not everyone's subscribing to those. But I think once the construction signs are up and the gate is up, it's going to be pretty obvious what we're up to, and folks are just going to have to be patient and look for a launch across the bay.
Okay.
Dave, I have a couple questions. First of all, how did the sculptures drop from 5 to 3?
Oh, well, that's a question for Corey. I couldn't say. Probably, if I were to guess, it's the scale of them, just the sheer work involved. But that's not my call. That was Corey's decision.
Okay. It wasn't something that we did. It was something the artist did.
Exactly.
Okay. Second question is, it occurs to me as I'm looking at this map that I really haven't a very good sense of the place yet. And I'm thinking that if you were available to give a tour at some point when you weren't busy registering people, maybe somebody else here on the board would like to go along as well. And we could just tour the whole place. I don't know where Sweetheart's Bluff is, for example. I can guess, but I have no idea, etc.
Oh, sure, Steve. I'd happily give tours. That sounds like fun. Stop down, whatever's best for anyone. I can make time for board members for tours. Sweetheart's Bluff is out back, as we say. It's out at the end of the, where the ball field is, right? And it's further west. There's a little blue gate out there. If you go to the western edge of the park, we've got a 20-acre nature area. So, but yeah, stop down. I'll be happy to give you a tour.
And the last thing is, I went to the city website while we were talking, and I couldn't find the newsletter. So maybe somebody could send us a link to where to find that newsletter and sign up for it.
That's Patrick. I thought it was there. I haven't been to the city site lately, but it usually had a kind of a front and center sign up for a newsletter in the upper right.
The link is right on the upper right-hand corner. Should be like one of the first things.
Okay, that's interesting because when I searched the site for the word newsletter, I didn't get anything like that. I'll go look again.
Okay. Anything else, Dave?
Probably, but it's really busy time behind the scenes. But we're having really good luck. I'm really pleased. Our seasonal staff is back. That's the best news. We've got great staff. I really want to thank them in advance for what's going to be a really busy summer.
Yeah.
We've seen, huge uptick in bookings. The online booking machine has been working brilliantly, sort of filling in every night. It's almost impossible to get 2 nights in a row right now in July and August. Wow. And so we are bracing for the busiest year ever. And we're not going to get too excited, but, we're going to shoulder through it. I can tell you April revenue was almost double of what we pulled in April in 2019. We kind of just took a look at it because it's April, but it was amazing. And that's mostly all incoming reservations. We didn't, certainly 2020 April was a whole different beast. We had nothing but refunds going out last month. We finished about at $2,500 for 2020 in April, but this year I think it was close to 60. Wow. So here we go.
For the record, I found the sign up for our newsletter link on the home page on the, not quite the upper right, but sort of right middle. But it's strange to me that when I searched for newsletter, that link didn't come up. Maybe you want to fix that in case somebody gets excited about it.
Yeah, sorry, Stephen. The search function only returns like PDFs and documents.
That makes sense. Okay, we covered old business with James. Any new business?
Nope.
No?
Well, I'll just confirm new business is looking into liquor licensing at the clubhouse.
That is a good point. You
We'll report back to you next month on that.
Okay. All right.
Dave, we got to get one of those little roller things like they have at Holiday that warms the brats.
Oh yeah, the hot dog machine. That's funny,
Yeah.
Bob. We used to have one up there.
Those go on top and those last forever and nobody cares how they taste.
Yeah.
And that would take the edge off even a Coors 3-2.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Frankie?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Bob's in favor. Steve?
You bet.
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
And I agree.
Thank you all.
See you all.
Take care.
Happy May.